Hello my dear friends, you're in the Military Summary channel, and today we will discuss the situation in the world on the 30th of March of 2026. Today we have lots of very interesting updates, so let's start. And first we're going to talk about Ukraine. During the previous evening, the president of Ukraine, Zelenskyy, made lots of very interesting statements. He said that Zelenskyy will reciprocate if Russia stops striking Ukrainian energy infrastructure. He also says Kyiv received signals from allies about scaling back strikes on Russia's oil sector. Another important thing that Zelenskyy proposed an Easter truce this year. Believers of the Russian Orthodox Church and the Orthodox Church of Ukraine celebrate the main church holiday on the same day, April 12th. A ceasefire any format, as we discussed today, both complete and energetic, and we are ready for a ceasefire for the Easter holidays. Once again, Zelenskyy is ready for peace talks. We are ready to meet anywhere except Russia and Belarus. The president stated this in an interview with NBS News. He named Turkey and Switzerland as possible options. And the most important, Ukraine is ready for neutral talks. So as you can see, Zelenskyy is ready for many things. He's ready for talks, he's ready for ceasefire, he's ready for truth, he's ready for everything except he is not ready to withdraw troops from Donbass. Washington is pressuring Kyiv to withdraw troops from Donbass, complains the former Ukrainian ambassador to United States of America. But the problem is that Ukraine will never accept this situation. So this is the reality, and this is the reality that forces both the Russians and the Ukrainians continue the conflict. And during the previous 24 hours, we received lots of very interesting updates about the situation on the ground. And first, we're going to talk about the northern Kupiansk direction, where it seems the Russians finished the battle for the northern parts of the Kupiansk direction. We are talking about the city of Kupiansk itself and for the eastern pockets of the city of Kupiansk. So as you can see, the map has been adjusted significantly during the previous 48 hours. This is, for example, the end of the 28th of March of 2026. During the 29th of March, so yesterday, the sources reported that the Russians managed to establish complete control over the settlement of Kovsharovka. And today, the Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation reported that as a result of clashes, the Russians captured the settlement of Novoosynove. So based on these reports that's received yesterday and today, we have adjusted the map, and as you can see, the changes are very huge. So basically, according to, of course, this is the most important thing, according to the Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation, currently there are no more settlements, towns, villages, cities on the eastern bank of the river Oskol that are under control of the armed forces of Ukraine, because according to the Minister of Defense, everything was already recaptured or captured. We can't say for sure whether these updates are correct or not. We just added some contested or some area additional progress on the ground, but telling the truth, during the day, during the previous 24 hours, lots of pro-Russian sources and lots of very reliable pro-Russian sources stated that the statement that was made by the Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation is not the reality and is very far from the real situation on the ground. They didn't specify what's exactly they were meaning, but they're saying that maybe not everything that was stated by the Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation is 100% correct information. Anyway, let's compare the map not just between the previous days, between the yesterday and today. Let's take a look at the map that took place in this area, let's say on the 1st of October of 2025. This is exactly or approximately the moment when the Russians launched their offensive operation in this area. They began clashes for the Kupiansk direction. This is the moment when the Russians managed to improve significantly their positions on the Ukrainian side of the river of Oskol. So this is exactly how the map looked like on the 1st of October. The Russians encircled the city of Kupiansk. There was still a pocket to the east of the river Oskol. We're talking about these territories. Then the Ukrainians launched their counter-offensive operation, and as a result of the Ukrainian counter-offensive operation, they managed to restore almost complete control over the northwestern part of the city of Kupiansk. And now let's take a look at the map map by the end of the 30th of March of 2026, and as you can see, the progress is significant. The Russians managed to recapture almost everything, and the Ukrainians most likely either have already left the eastern bank of the river Oskol or about to do this. But once again, several pro-Russian sources stated that the situation, the reports that was published by the Ministry of Defense, probably is not 100% sure correct. Now let's move further and let's discuss the situation in the Kostiantynivka direction, where during the previous 24 hours also additional changes were recorded. So as you can see, during the previous day we received lots of updates. The Russians were bombing and attacking the city of Kostiantynivka in the southwestern parts of the city using aviation and heavy tossed flamethrower systems. The Russians are trying to force the Ukrainians to fall back from this area. The Russians were bombing the southeastern parts of the city of Kostiantynivka. In this video we can see the edge position of the armored forces of Ukraine in this area, and this position was attacked by Russians using Krasnopol shell. Furthermore, the Russians, according to different sources, improved their positions in the central part of the city. This video was published by pro-Ukrainian sources, and here we can see how an FPV drone operator of the armored forces of Ukraine was attacking positions of the Russian forces in the central part of the city of Kostiantynivka. So, for example, this attack took place right exactly in this area, and based on this video, a lot of mappers adjusted their maps. So we see that the Russians are keeping advancing, trying to force the Ukrainians to fall back from the area, but the battle for the city of Kostiantynivka is still ongoing, and it seems that the battle for this city could become the longest battle since the beginning of the special military operation, because the Russians began improving their positions in the area of the city in 2025. And if you remember, in December of 2025, the commander of the group of forces South promised that he would take the city of Kostiantynivka under complete control somewhere in the mid-February, but we still see that the Russians are along the outskirts and along the city borders, city limits, but not deeper. Now let's move further and let's talk about the Zaporizhzhia direction. During the previous day, additional changes on the ground were recorded in this area as well. Pro-Ukrainian sources published a video to the south of the settlement of Sergeyevka, and here we can see how Ukrainians were attacking positions of the armed forces of the Russian Federation with multiple launch rocket systems. It seems that the Russians are getting closer and closer to the settlement of Sergeyevka from the south. They're trying to take the northern farms under complete control, at least to get there. Furthermore, the Russians are trying to secure the territory to the north of the settlement of Sergeyevka with the purpose to answer this territory and to take the settlement in pincers. It is very important for Russians to come out of the Pokrovsk region and to enter deeper inside of the Dnipropetrovsk region and deeper and further in the direction of the settlement of Zaporizhzhia, and to create a gap between the city of Pokrovsk and the edge positions. Furthermore, we received a video from the southwestern parts of the settlement of Belitska. Here we could see how Ukrainians were attacking this part of the settlement, which means that most likely this part of the settlement neither under control of Russians nor of Ukrainians. Now let's discuss the situation in the Zaporizhzhia direction, where the most important battle is taking place. The Russians are attacking the city of Orekhov from three directions: from the south, from the east, and from the west. As for the western attacks, during the previous 24-48 hours we haven't received anything. As for the southern and as for the eastern attacks, we received updates. The Russians, using the units of the group of forces Dnipro, were trying to answer the city of Orekhov from the south, and for these purposes the Russians used dozens of vehicles and hundreds of soldiers. As of the end of the 29th and 23rd and 30th of March of 2026, we haven't haven't received anything, whether the Russians managed to improve their positions or not. But another route of attack took place to the east of the city of Orekhov, and the Russians were trying to attack in the western direction from the settlement of Pologi. But this time the Russians were attacking using the forces of the Group of Forces East. And according to information we have, and according to different sources, according to very reliable sources, the Russians, as a result of this attack, captured the settlement of Lugovskoye, and pro-Russian sources published a video on this matter. But it seems that the Russians of the Group of Forces East are not going to move further in the western direction to attack the city of Orekhov, because the city itself is not their area of responsibilities. It seems that the Russians from the city of Pologi were trying to attack in the northern direction, trying to get the main defense layers of the armored forces of Ukraine around Charivny and Guliai-Polskaya from the south. So the Russians were trying to carry out an unexpected and fast lightning attack to approach these settlements from the south and basically to cut this defense layer in pincers. So let's wait and see what is going to be next, but due to the fact that the report was published by the Group of Forces East, we believe that in coming days the Russians may tighten the news around the main positions of the armored forces of Ukraine in this area, forcing them to fall back from this area in the end of the battle for these territories. At the same time, the Russians are pushing the same positions from the east, bombing and attacking the edge positions of the armored forces of Ukraine using heavy TOS flamethrower systems. And usually the Russians use these systems before any ground operation. Now let's move further and let's discuss the situation in the Middle East. And first let's talk about the United States of America, because during the previous 24 hours, the President of the United States of America issued another ultimatum. Today, the President of the United States of America issued the ultimatum to Iran for the second time since the beginning of the previous week. The United States of America is in a serious discussions with a new and more reasonable regime to end our military operations in Iran. Great progress has been made, but if for any reason a deal is not shortly reached, which is probably will be, and if the Hormuz Strait is not immediately open for business, we will conclude our lovely stay in Iran by blowing up and completely obliterating all of their electric generating plants, oil wells and Khark Island, which we have purposefully not yet touched. This will be in retribution for our many soldiers and others that Iran has butchered and killed over the old regime's 47 years reign of terror. That was the statement of the President of the United States of America. And this statement of the President of the United States of America could do just one thing. His statement only pushed the prices higher. I would like to remind you that this morning the oil markets opened with the next numbers. WTI $102 per barrel, Brent crude on the level of $115 per barrel. And right after the President of the United States of America issued another ultimatum to the Iranians, the prices went higher. And WTI was on the level of $103 and Brent crude was on the level of $112 per barrel. The prices are going higher and most likely nobody will stop them. Currently only the ground operation is able to do this. But the question is whether the United States of America is ready for any ground operation. And today we received an answer to this question from the Democratic Party of the United States of America. Republican insiders believe that putting boots on the ground in Iran would see the GOP lose 60-70 seats in the House, giving Democrats a supermajority. We need to understand that both the President of the United States of America, Donald Trump, and the Republican Party understand this. They understand if they put boots on the territory of Iran, and if this operation doesn't bring any results, they will lose 60 to 70 seats in the Congress, which means that this is going to be the worst era, the worst time for the Republican Party. It's very difficult to say when exactly they will be able to restore their positions. Obviously not during this or the second year. So this situation is a very risky situation. So that is why we see that the President of the United States of America is hesitating. He has several options: either to start a ground operation on the territory of Iran with the purpose to take under complete control at least several islands that are under control of Iranians. We are talking about Hark Island, we are talking about the island of Keshim, or to destroy the infrastructure of Iran completely. But the first solution, the first option, most likely will bring losses to the United States of America, and probably also losses for the Republican Party in the Congress, which is something unacceptable for the President of the United States of America. But from the other side, so the destruction of the energy infrastructure of Iran will push prices higher. And furthermore, not just push prices higher, the geography of strikes will increase as well. For example, today the President of the United States of America just told the Iranians that he would attack, that the United States of America would just attack the desalination plants on the territory of Iran. And today we received the report that the Iranians have already attacked Kuwait desalination plant. If the parties of the conflict continue attacking each other and each other's desalination plants, this can bring unpredictable consequences and humanitarian disaster for the entire region, not just for Iran, but also to the states of the Persian Gulf. But so that is why we see that the President of the United States of America is hesitating. And while he is hesitating, the Iranians continue attacking and destroying ships, vessels, and tankers that are trying to cross this area without permission from the Iranian authorities. In this video, we can see an Emirati oil tanker that was targeted by Iranian Navy missiles after refusing to stop, and most likely after refusing to pay money to the Iranian authorities. Furthermore, we received the reports that, according to information we have, the infrastructure of the United Arab Emirates in its southern parts was also damaged. Satellite images show fires at two pumping stations on the Habshah-Fujairah oil pipeline, which carries crude from Abu Dhabi to the port of Fujairah bypassing the Strait of Hormuz. So using this infrastructure, the United Arab Emirates transport their oil from this area in the direction of the port infrastructure of the city of Fujairah. Later, the United Arab Emirates use this infrastructure to export oil without using the Strait of Hormuz. During the first stage of this conflict, the Iranians were attacking this territory with drones and missiles. As of the previous several days, we haven't received almost anything from this area. Furthermore, we continue receiving updates on the matter of the conflict on the southern parts of Lebanon. Today, according to information we have, the Israelis managed to improve their positions and to increase a buffer zone in this region. So these are the changes on the ground between the dates. So this is the end of the 29th of March, and this is the end of the 30th of March. I would like to remind you that the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, ordered to increase the buffer zone in the southern parts of Lebanon with the purpose to force pro-Iranian proxies in this area further in the northern direction. So the situation is very complicated, but several Western media promised or reported that the ground operation in this region could start at the beginning of April of 2026. So basically within the next several days. And at the same time, we start receiving updates from the Taiwan region. Today, according to information we have, China's Xi Jinping invited Chen Liwen, head of Taiwan's opposition party, to visit China. She accepted. It's the first such visit in about a decade and signals renewed China KMT engagement. So we see that the conflict around Taiwan will intensify, but at this stage of the confrontation, the Chinese will try to fix problems and issues with Taiwan with diplomatic means. And that's it for today. The Military Summary channel reminds we condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.